Well, it is Monday. I'm Dave. This is Matt. This is the Sports Carnival. We are broadcasting live, baby, from the Trauma Center studio, powered by the Recovery Room. Coolest fucking bar in all of La Crosse, Wisconsin. Matt, top of the morning to you.
I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that. That top of the morning, man. Pure blessings to you, my friend, as well. I just want to wish everybody that's in a floodplain today good luck. Hopefully, you're not getting too much as bad as it is in French Island. Hopefully, everybody recovers as fast as possible.
Dude, it was fucking snowing outside a bit ago.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
What is this?
I don't know, man.
All right. Well, I'm not going to be playing weatherman this morning.
Yep, that's
I'm just
as far
going to go
as I
ahead.
was going. Yep. I was just wishing everybody good luck. That's
you
having
betcha.
some issues out there.
Oh my God, has it been something? Boy, the Mississippi River, and this isn't something just to, seem centralized for us, but the Mississippi River, from what I can tell, damn near up and down the country has been flooding for a lot of people. So wild weather out there, but hey, we've got some wild sports to talk about this morning,
weekend.
Matt. Oh my God, the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball, and the XFL delivered in some really, really impressive fashions. We've got a lot of ground to cover. Now, generally, here on a Monday morning, we're joined by our Green and Gold insider, Joe DeGuano, but we're going to save Joe until Thursday morning, because Thursday morning is the NFL draft, and I do want to take a look at a mock draft that I saw, Matt, this morning, as a matter of fact, that actually goes along the same thought process that you had last week. Also goes along the same thought process, at least with one particular player, that Dan Orlovsky has been talking about quite a bit. I love Dan Orlovsky on ESPN. I think he's just got a great take on the entirety of the NFL and being a quarterback. So we're going to get into that just a bit. But we've also got a poll question that I want to make sure that we roll out here early for our audience members, because, Matt, on Saturday, we saw the Milwaukee Bucks get absolutely rickrolled by the Miami Heat, lost by 21 points. I talked about the Heat being a team that I did not want to see the Bucks face in the first round.
For a month.
Yeah, did not like this matchup. I just didn't like the matchup. Well, Giannis's injury obviously compounds the situation quite a bit. The question for audience members, how concerned are you? Rate your level of concern with this Bucks series, 2-1. Now, tonight is game 4, and it's in Miami again. I'm not entirely sure if Giannis plays. I don't know if the Bucks know 100% if Giannis is going to play. Matt, before we get to our audience members, I just want to ask you, your level of concern as a tangent Bucks fan with this series, 2-1 now in favor of the Heat. Where are you at?
I'm actually with where we are on Facebook for the majority of the people. We can get to that a little bit later, but I'm just slightly concerned. We'll see what happens with Giannis coming up here tonight, obviously. But if they lose tonight, oh boy, it's going to be I might have a different take tomorrow morning, my friend.
Oh, if they lose tonight, I wouldn't say the series is necessarily over, but the series is pretty much over.
It's a scary situation for the Bucks, and this will be the 5th or 6th time ever that the 8th seed might come in and take out a number 1 seed, I believe, in the last time. There has been that situation
a few times before. The Nuggets, the Sonics. I remember there was a situation many years ago when I think the Warriors were actually an 8th seed.
I believe so as well.
And they beat the Dallas Mavericks, who were a towering power at that time. Look, it's going to be an interesting game 4. Not sure if Giannis is going to play. Again, we'll keep updated throughout this morning's show. If Matt and I find out any information, we'll be sure to bring it to you. But
Jimmy took a little bit of a back injury as well, so we'll see how he's playing. And then I didn't know how much you want to get into this, but my biggest takeaway is Victor Oladipo should just hang him up, in my opinion.
Really?
Dude, after he lost that patella tendon and he blew out his knee, I don't know if he could ever come back for all his injuries.
Well, he's definitely not been the kind of player that he was anticipated to be, number 2 overall pick, and did have a couple of pop years, right? But yeah, listen, it's hard to overcome big-time injuries. Just ask Kawhi Leonard, who's been out for the Clippers, and Paul George, been out for the Clippers. By the way, Kawhi Leonard's sister just got sentenced to life in prison for murder.
Yep, I didn't know about that either until I read that. Yeah, I guess her and another friend ended up murdering an elderly lady in a bathroom and mugging her and killing her. And unfortunately, that's one of the reasons why I think he might not have been playing the other day. They didn't really release why he didn't play. It was like more of a
He's got knee soreness, though.
In a personal day. So it was I don't know what was going on. I just want to throw out this for everybody yesterday. I know we've been calling Westbrook for a while, but he balled out yesterday. So even though Russell Westbrook wasn't
Saturday
over the weekend, but he showed up at least for once.
Westbrook was awesome. Yep. I mean, the game was really fantastic. The Clippers and the Suns game. Now, congratulations to the Suns going up 3-1. I know that Neil Duda is going to be pretty excited about that. I'll tell you what, one of the best games in NBA, like my recent NBA playoff memory, was yesterday's Golden State Warriors Sacramento King game. Down to the wire, man. Warriors win by 1. I'm not entirely sure that the Warriors are done for, like in this series.
Well, they're winning at home again,
Yeah.
So, I mean, and Curry still got away with the whole Chris forever, everything else. And
Jesus.
one thing we forgot to mention about the Bucks as well. I know we'll probably get.
We'll be getting back into that. Sure.
The 3-point shooting from both teams has been absolutely on or off. So that's just crazy for how bad where this series is at, in my opinion.
Well, I really expected a lot more from the Bucks defensively. I expected more from a coaching standpoint. I thought that they really shit the bed on Saturday. So we'll get into that a lot more as we continue on, but we do have a lot to cover. I do want to throw this up here because Rob Dog's up and at it early in local sports. UWL swept UW Whitewater in 4 games. The softball team swept Stout and River Falls, and Viterbo won its 4 games. And he says a player who went 1 for 1 had 5 RBI.
I guess it's possible.
So that would be basically like this. If you went 1 for 1, you would have a grand slam for 4 RBI, or that would only be 3 RBI.
Well, you also have an RBI sac fly. You could get a walk. I guess.
But the sac fly would be a 1 for 2 because you'd be given an out.
Fielder's choice, maybe. I don't know.
I would.
There's some opportunities.
I was thinking a bases loaded hit by pitch. Would that count as an RBI?
I'm guessing.
I don't know, Rob.
I'm guessing Rob's going to fill us in.
Yeah, I don't know. That seems like a bullshit stat. Sorry. Rob Duggs does say that his Knicks are looking good. They sure are. That was a good win over Cleveland. I thought that was a really fun game to watch. Reminded me of the old school Knicks. The game was really low scoring and it was really physical. I thought it was a very good Knicks game. So Rob Dugg, I'm with you. And then Foreman's got a question for us, but I want to answer this one when we come back. So we're going to take a quick break. When we return, we'll continue to update you guys and gals on the poll question. Want to take a little bit of a break from the NBA and talk NFL draft because it's coming up this Thursday. We'll sprinkle in some XFL because the XFL postseason has now been set. We've got the bracket. We'll show you exactly who is going to be playing who. Sports Carnival broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio back in like 50 seconds. What can I say? The Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi Street is not only my favorite bar in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, it's my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. Breakfast served 8 to noon, Saturday and Sundays, daily specials, incredible cocktails, and the best damn wait staff in the entire city. My buddy Matt knows how to treat you right, and that's why when you go to the Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi, you're always going to have a great time and a great meal with a great cocktail. So if you haven't been in a while, or perhaps you're just regular and you want to stop in again, make it a thing. I'm there every single week. How about you?
Do you have a wedding, anniversary party, or bat mitzvah coming up in your life? Then you need Hey Duda DJ services featuring Neil Duda, the Midwest Eminem.
No doubt about it, I'm done hammered, and that's every day. Brand's so cloudy, dog.
Dropping sick beats while you enjoy your treats. No party is too big or too small. Quinceañeras, graduations, ice cream socials, or cocktail parties. Whatever the celebration, Hey Duda is rocking the foundation.
Here we go again, back with all our friends. Here comes the pain.
Neil Duda.
Ah, yes, the wonderful talents of Neil Duda. You know, we had some fun over the weekend playing music here at the Trauma Center studio, Matt.
I love it. It's always fun to entertain people, especially with music. And you can always, when everybody enjoys having a good time, especially with the music, you know, everybody, and that makes me feel good as a human being too. So when everybody enjoys the time, especially when music's involved, food's involved, it's always a good time. I guess that's why I'm in the bar business.
You betcha. No food in this particular situation, but we broke out the guitars. We had some people singing. We had some people rapping. It was actually a really eclectic sort of a mix. And, you know,
up here?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were talking about you were playing some music downstairs.
No, in the Trauma Center studio.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, I'm sorry, I misheard you. That's awesome,
dude. We had a nice little gathering of musicians up here over the weekend. It was a lot of fun.
Nice.
It was a lot of fun, and this is a multi-dimensional studio. It really is.
Would you break out some like sort of karaoke, or was it all like free? You know.
So I broke out some. I broke out some guitar. We had a couple of other singers and some hip hop guys, and we were doing
one thing I didn't know about when we got in Vegas. You informed me that you have played some music and really enjoyed playing the guitar. So
you betcha, man.
About that you informed me that when we were out in Vegas.
Yeah. That's right. Well, they're sitting right over here. We don't have the camera view to show them, but it was a lot of fun. And listen, we were just having a good time. Nobody was looking to make a record out of it, but there's some seriously talented people here in this city. I mean, there really is. Connor, one of our bartenders downstairs, who I used to just kind of like, joke with and say, hey, dude, you're like Billy Bob Thornton here to do like, I don't know, acting, work. You're basically doing a Daniel Day-Lewis and learning how to be a bartender for a new movie. Because he's got a certain kind of look that Billy Bob had probably 30 years ago, right?
For sure.
Well, this guy's an incredible musician. I had no idea he went to college for guitar, So he's got an incredible clean picking style. Connor's name, find him on Spotify. No Show Cadillac.
Yeah,
No Show Cadillac.
We put someone down on the bar, so we were listening to him a little bit yesterday or last week, and then obviously we can throw out there. We got Cheech in town, the boys from Tug with Jake McLeese and Andy Hughes, and then obviously Maddie Malum. So Lacrosse has really got some good music just for the people that we know, really close to us. So.
How long's it been since you've seen Malum?
I saw him 2 weeks ago.
Did you?
Yep.
How's he doing?
Good. I saw him, and I just lost it.
Bailey,
thank you.
You
saw
go.
both. Bailey is now
his much better half.
Yes, and Bailey works with my better half, so it was very interesting. We saw them both together. They were bartending down on the show. It was horseshoes and hand grenades. We saw them both down there. It was great. And also another great show.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Well, Matt's great. Just released a record too, by the way. And for a guy that, I mean, let's just face it, is basically the lacrosse comp for Louis C.K. I mean, he really has just a good, soulful heart. I could never picture like how the two things went together, because the first time I met Matt, he's just, fucking screaming at somebody on the phone and just being a complete asshole. And then I heard him singing and I'm like, damn.
Oh, this
guy's got a whole lot of breadth of depth and emotion. Very interesting.
Whether he's on the strings or on the drums or anything, Matty can carry it. That's for sure.
He really can. All right. I mentioned Foreman, P12 Foreman. So couple of questions that Foreman has. This one is first. Are we having a draft party at the recovery room on Thursday night? Matt, are we having a draft party?
Well, it's always an annual tradition that I try to do, obviously, depending on where everybody's in. But yeah, I always love, at least for the first 10 picks, we usually get everybody there after the 10 picks. People try to weigh off, but yes, the simple answer is yes.
Okay. And the Packers are picking at 15.
Yep.
So it means we don't have to wait too long. I think we should do this. Let's do the draft party, and it'll be like this. Every time that Aaron Rodgers' stupid fucking name is mentioned in the NFL draft coverage, we have to take a shot. Now, you don't have to buy it, but we at the bar, we've got to take shots. Now, if you guys are good with this, I'll see you there. If not, I don't know if this draft party's for you, because I want to see how plowed we all get by the time that little bitch gets his either trade request to go to the Jets, or we find out that he's just decided to, I don't know, hang it up and go to a Lebanese, I don't know, likeness resort, or maybe he's going to go to see the Aurora Borealis in all 30 states, which is going to be happening tonight. I don't know, but I think that would be a fun draft game. How many times does his name get mentioned before they actually trade him?
I think we
if they do.
I think we can figure out a shot special for that, my friend, easily. No problem. I don't know. Maybe he'll just be the newest member of the Pat McAfee show. Who knows what's going on? I'm looking forward to Friday, my friend, because I'm considering that AA day, and I'm not besmirching anybody out there with an addiction problem, because there are a lot of people that are addicted to Aaron Rodgers. So I'm hoping that Friday is AA day after Aaron day.
That would be so good.
Go somewhere else. Get out of there.
So good. I know Viking fans are probably digging this, and certain Packer fans like Jeff Schneider don't like this particular way of talking by me, but I just do not understand for the life of me. And now that this thing's coming to its absolute end, I can finally be as honest as I've ever wanted to be, because I've been playing patty cake about this shit for 6 years. I do not understand why Aaron Rodgers gives you the best chance to win a Super Bowl. He has shown you nothing of the sort. Fucking a lot of people have been closer. I mean, let me think. In the last number of years, Blake Bortles got as close to a Super Bowl as Aaron Rodgers did. Nick Foles outdueled Tom Brady. Get off of this stuff. Aaron Rodgers has been an albatross around the Packers' neck for a while. And the 13-3 seasons and 13-4 seasons, those are great. But look at the schedules that the Packers played. The Packers got essentially 3 wins every year against the Bears, the Lions, and the Vikings. At least they would split for a decade. That Green Bay couldn't do more with Aaron Rodgers shows me he sucks. Now, he can throw, but he's no fucking leader. Get him out of here. Just goodbye. Thank you. See ya. Neat commercial, whatever. Go away.
I'm just happy that this shit's almost over for this week, brother, because everybody's lying right now. You brought up bringing up the draft. Everybody's lying right now. Everybody has this one pick or has somebody in mind. So these kids are going up and down the draft order, and all this shit with Aaron Rodgers is going back to this and the San Francisco 49er bullshit that's coming out there. The Packers are not going to trade Aaron Rodgers to the goddamn 49ers.
No.
If anything's going to happen with the 49ers, Trey Lance is probably more likely to go to the Vikings than anything's going to happen. That's all just random ass bullshit, because everybody right now this week, Dave, in my opinion, is fucking lying.
Well, there is a lot of smoke screening going on, a lot of subterfuge for sure. There does seem to be a growing consensus around the number 1 pick. All right. And we'll go ahead and kind of show one of the mock drafts that we found this morning. This is actually a yahoo.com mock draft. So we took this from their website today. The growing consensus seems to be Bryce Young at number 1. As a matter of fact, Bryce Young last week actually canceled all the rest of his interviews with other teams he essentially, at least this is the way it looks,
Mhm.
has been given some sort of a wink and a nod
An
or an
assurance.
assurance that
Yep.
he'll be the number 1 overall pick by Carolina. Now, I think that's a mistake. I will say this. I think that is a mistake. Now, I know that Frank Reich has got to get a quarterback in. When you look at the Cleveland Browns drafted Myles Garrett number of years ago, right? Number 1.
Mhm.
They went and paid a quarterback $250 million in guaranteed money to make sure they get it right. D'Amico Ryans, the coach of the Texans, sitting here at number 2. I mean, you can go back all the day. Mario Williams got drafted number 1 over Reggie Bush.
Yep.
A defensive end is not going to change your team. Like, that's just not going to be the way it is. I mean, if you were maybe one player away, which no team drafting at number 1 is one player away. But if that was the case, then maybe. I still think, though, that Bryce Young is a mistake. And that's where this number 2 pick comes into play. Who, again, I don't know exactly what this guy's ultimate career is going to look like. It could be Cam Newton. It could be Justin Fields. We don't know. But Anthony Richardson now, somebody that you mentioned last week, is starting to get more and more smoke behind his name for the number 2 pick. Now, we've been talking a lot about C.J. Stroud, and then there was Will Levis, and then there's Hendon Hooker, and, there's a few other guys that maybe could be, considered that number 2 pick. C.J. Stroud, who you see on your screen going now 4, according to this mock draft to the Colts, was kind of the presumptive number 2. But now what we're starting to see is Anthony Richardson. So I mentioned Dan Orlovsky. He's also got Richardson going number 2. And Dan did something that I hadn't actually seen done with Anthony Richardson yet, because he hasn't played that many games, right? He started, I think, 13 games for Florida. But one of the knocks, at least that I'd been hearing and reading, was his accuracy. Percentage completion, not great. Well, Dan broke down some tape and showed some different plays. This guy was throwing to wide receivers in some of the best ways. They were dropping passes, literally dropping passes.
They were not a good college football team.
No, his teammates sucked. And because of that, percentage-wise, yes, he looks like he's a not as accurate quarterback. Now, does he still have some of that Josh Allen cowboy in him, where he's taking big shots and probably throwing it because he's got that howitzer for an arm and maybe overusing that at times? Sure. But I would rather have that and rein it back in a little bit than not be able to push the ball down the field, right? Because that's what we see limited quarterbacks. Tua Tagovailoa, for example, he can't push the ball downfield. The ball pops out of this guy's hand like poof, right? It's unbelievable.
Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, very similar.
Yes. I mean, in their throwing, yes,
Yep.
I would say that. I would say that
their accuracy in college was all very similar. All 3 of their accuracy
well,
in college
no,
were very
because
similar.
Lamar Jackson won the Heisman.
Right, but he also wasn't that great of accurate of a
Wasn't
passer.
he?
No, at Louisville, he was not that great of an accurate passer. He
Just ran all
he
over
ran
the
all
place
over the
then.
place. His deep ball got his short-term ball ins and outs, slants, and everything in the NFL really progressed over his first 2 years in the NFL. That's what everybody as a Bear fan is hoping for, the same thing out of Justin Fields. So,
Well, I mean, I think it was by Lamar's 3rd season in the NFL, he was an MVP.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's hope if you're a Bear fan,
Oh yeah,
this would be the year for an MVP from Fields. That would be something. Listen, Fields has got a lot of wheels. And that's the thing with Richardson. You're going to have the very real possibility that he's Justin Fields, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing yet, right? Like, Justin Fields is still I think we have a to be determined on his grade, right?
sure.
We're not exactly sure what he's going to be. If this guy could be Cam Newton, and I know that Cam Newton right now, who's out of the league, probably seems a bit foolish, but Cam Newton was an MVP, took a team to a Super Bowl. The guy was awesome.
Yeah.
He just was, a running quarterback that got knocked around. After a while, you can't do that much anymore. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. But I think it's fun because last week, you were talking about Richardson, and I'm saying, take Jalen Carter. If you're D'Amico Ryans, take Jalen Carter, who now we see in this mock draft going number 5 to the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, and that's even crazy to me. So I'm looking at, 2 different mock drafts. I have Peter King's in front of me, and I have
Sure.
CBS Sports and go in front of me. The one that's really blowing my mind out of everybody is this Tyree Wilson kid, edge rusher coming out of Texas Tech. I don't know if that's just more smoke for everybody else because Jalen Carter's up there. You have that the edge rusher, Anderson too, that's not getting a lot of talk up there. Everybody thought he'd be second pick going on out there. Now there's even talking maybe 5 quarterbacks going in the top 10 picks as well. So there's a lot of smoking out there. The one that really scares the shit out of me, Dave, and looking at this as being a Bears fan or just seeing the NFL NFC North, if Will Anderson falls to number 6 to the Detroit Lions, and you have Will Anderson on one side and Aiden Hutchinson on the other for defensive ends, and with where the Lions are going, that could be really scary for NFC North quarterbacks.
It could. I think the Lions, in this mock draft that I'm looking at here from Yahoo, I think the Lions do need a corner, right? Like, I mean, they didn't have good corner play. They got burned a lot in the past, but you're right.
They traded Aduka, who they wasted a 3rd third overall pick to the Atlanta earlier this year too. So they
Sure.
need some help. Sorry.
So yeah, I think they do need a corner, but no, listen, okay. What I always say, and what I think most NFL teams really truly believe, at least the smart ones, you draft the best player available, especially in the first round. You draft the best player available. Now, when you start getting into later rounds, you might start doing need, fit, position, things of that nature. But especially here, depending on how the draft board falls, you got to take who the best player is. So that would be something to see. Look, the Lions, I mean, they're in a pretty good spot. When they traded Matt Stafford, he wins a Super Bowl. First year, it looks like, all right, the Rams got the best out of that. And listen, they win a Super Bowl. Matt Stafford was right there. That's a legacy-defining move, right? Like Matt Stafford's a Hall of Fame quarterback now because he's got a Super Bowl and his numbers will be there. So for what that's worth, it did work. But now that you look at the downline, the draft picks the Lions got, and the fact that, he's not necessarily the greatest quarterback, but Jared Goff is a quarterback, right? Is he much worse than Kirk Cousins? I would say no. Is he probably a more clutch quarterback than Kirk Cousins? I'd say yes. I mean, Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl. So I just look at this Lions team now with that 6th pick again, and I'm like, fuck, they're in a really good spot, man. The Lions could actually be good. Here's something I want to bring up, though. Foreman's on the screen.
Yep.
He says he hopes that Bryce Young was lied to, like Aaron Rodgers, and they go with somebody else. And Bryce sits there for like most of the first round. He says that would never happen in today's NFL, but it would be super funny. Yes, it would.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to get in there and with everything else. I guess this is where I was going with the whole draft and everything else. This is like the biggest week for my brother, so I can wait. I haven't been able to talk to him well, so he's going on there. So I'd like to get some information. Hopefully, I can talk to my brother, see what he's thinking about what's going on there.
I think
with
that's the
NFL.
first time I've heard you say that.
Oh no, I always
that you hope to talk to your
No,
brother.
I always hope to talk to him. It's just never easy to talk to him, especially because this is like accounting season for him, but just flip it around because he's been on the road traveling all the time. So I know he can't give us details about what Tampa's going to do or everything else going forward, but I'd just like to get pick his brain just to see what he kind of thinks with all the smoke and mirrors that are going on in the NFL right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always like hearing from scouts just the different kinds of processes in which they use to evaluate players, because different teams and their scouts have different ways about going about their evaluations. That's one of the things that I've always been super curious about, is like the way that certain teams value certain players. And some of the great teams, I think of Baltimore off the top of my head, San Francisco right now, they've got a mode, right? They've got a modus operandi, how they go out there and evaluate players. Seattle did that with Pete Carroll. When he first came from USC, Pete Carroll was nailing all those draft picks because he was taking dudes out of the Pac-12, and he's like, I know everything about these guys.
He's also taking the best athletes on the board too, like you just mentioned.
Yeah, but I mean, they had Wilson in the 3rd round. You had Sherman. They got some guys, but he was hitting on these. So that's one thing I'd love to talk to your brother about. Foreman, though, does ask a really important question. Why the fuck is it snowing outside? I don't know, Foreman.
I wish I knew myself.
I wish I
knew myself.
It's too cold. All right, so looking at this one mock draft, and again, there's a ton of them. You've got Mel Kiper's up there. We've got Richardson. It's, again, being presumed by a number of different scouts that he would probably be the better fit there for the Texans because they need a quarterback. Will Levis going to Tennessee. I wonder, did Tennessee jump up? Did they make a trade?
I think this is all just us mock drafts with everybody possibly trading up.
So, if Tennessee does go up and trade, maybe they get Will Levis. The Colts really are at 4, so they've got him going with C.J. Stroud. The Seahawks really are there at 5. They've got Jalen Carter going, which, again, he might be the most talented overall player in this draft. Like, Jalen Carter might be the best player in this draft.
As long as his head's in it, yes, I agree with you 100%.
Right, exactly. Which, again, when you think about defensive players, I don't need the same visceral qualities. Like, Lawrence Taylor was insane. But if you give me Lawrence Taylor on the football field, I'm fine. Oh, yeah. Like, just make sure to watch this guy.
How about somebody that actually may have killed somebody, Ray Lewis?
Right. Well, I was just going to say keep Lawrence Taylor away from the high school, though.
Yep.
Okay, because that could get a little sticky. But, yeah, I mean, Ray Lewis was interesting. We were watching that Bullies of Baltimore thing, right?
Yep.
And the way that all went down, it feels like now he probably wasn't that involved. I don't know.
I don't think he was either. I was just throwing it out there.
No.
He's always going to get that shade just for that incident,
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot and why people really do love dogs more than people, because Michael Vick actually went to prison for 2 years.
For sure.
And Ray Lewis is still out there. Will Anderson, they've got him, that edge rusher that you talked about, going 8 to Atlanta. Peter Skoronowski, I guess.
Is that the kid from Northwestern?
Sure, offensive tackle going to the Chicago Bears.
People are taking offensive tackle for the Bears, which we'll see what happens.
Well, I don't think that's a bad idea.
I don't think it would. To me, that's why I kind of hate these and like these things, because there's going to be none of this is going to look. We should take a picture, or you and I should do a.
Well, I
mock
have
draft.
this picture.
I know, but you and I personally, and it's going to look completely different than everything that we're seeing right now.
Well, I have no idea about this stuff because I don't really watch college football like that. I focus on the Big Ten, and I see what I see, and I've seen these guys in action, right? But this is the one thing for me that I've never had a great read on is like what player goes where, because again, a lot of it goes to the specific wants of a team, right? And then we don't know how they interviewed and what it is that they said in their interview and the things that could sometimes turn a team off. I mean, I remember talking to a lot of guys that worked in the NFL. Sometimes whatever the tape is, they know that you're there. You're already good enough to be there, right? Like you're in the conversation. Then it's a lot of times how the two parties talk to each other. Like, what do they say back and forth to each other? Like, did that guy fuck up an answer that some coach or some GM was really hoping that he would nail?
Well, look what even Drew Rosenhaus is doing this week. He's guaranteeing that Carter will go in the top 10 picks. So
absolutely.
So he knows something that nobody else knows, or everybody knows it. So no, with all the problems that Carter's going under, the kid's going to get drafted in the first 10 picks.
No question about it. He might be the most talented player, and 5 might even still be a bit far for him to drop. I know that D'Amico Ryans, and Foreman's saying over here that he needs offense, and I know that. And I like Anthony Richardson going there. I think that's actually not a bad fit. There are some things to worry about when you look at a team as bad as Houston taking a quarterback as inexperienced as Richardson. That can happen. And if he gets overexposed and they've got nobody to start in front of him, he could get shell-shocked, much like David Carr did, right? Derek Carr's older brother, number 1 pick.
55 sacks in 1 year.
Bro, he got annihilated.
Yeah, destroyed.
I mean, and I don't think he ever recovered from that season, right? Like,
never could do it. Never could stay in the pocket ever again.
No. Now, for Anthony Richardson, this guy's huge. He's an athlete, and he would be one of those guys, much like Cam Newton was in his rookie year, to be able to take some of that punishment. Because remember, Carolina was bad too. That's why they drafted Newton at 1. But he popped his first year, threw for over 4,000 yards, and ran all over the place. Richardson might be able to do something like that. I mean, that is entirely possible.
His upside is better than any other quarterback in this draft, in my opinion.
I agree. So I totally agree.
My other surprise going through these, he's not on here, but in a couple of these other drafts I'm looking at, is that they're saying that this Bijan Robinson, running back out of Texas, might go in the top 15. I cannot see that happening in
first
in
round.
Yeah, exactly.
I could see the first round, but not the first. Not top 15. I mean, unless there's a team really desperate for a running back, I don't know.
Yeah.
Back to this Jalen Carter just briefly. The one thing that I still have as an outlier is the fact that Houston at 2 with a defensive player like that, because they've got other picks, they might be able to sort of jostle and move up. And I'm not entirely sure that they're going to be much better this year, no matter who they take. And if that is the case, and you only win 4 games next year, and you're right there in the top 3 picks again, right? Now you've got all these guys, Caleb Williams coming out of USC, Drake May coming out of North Carolina, I believe it is.
Yep. There's some good quarterbacks next year.
There's some generational type talents, especially the guys like Caleb Williams and Drake May. So there is an outside shot. I don't know how much money I would want to put on it, because last week Jalen Carter was plus 2,000 to go number 2 overall. But I might take a couple of bucks. By the way, you're seeing something scroll along the bottom of your screen. If you're just listening to us later on podcast version, go to betus.com, betus.com, enter promo code Carnival. That's our Carnival code. You'll get 125% free play deposit match when you make your initial deposit. And you could use that on this week's upcoming NFL draft.
Yeah, they have some interesting drafts out there, interesting bets out there. Props, yep.
It's so fun. I love looking at that. Who could go in the top 10, which guy specifically could go in which spot, and who your team might take. Now, the Bears, who we do see on here at number 9, have a lot of different ways that they could go. I know that you said that this is something that you largely think is just lying time. I'm not entirely upset with the offensive tackle position. Who else would you like to see him take? Do you have a particular player or a position that you want to see him take?
I had it right here in front of me. So I really like the news that I've been reading up on this kid from Northwestern. Obviously, that helps being close to Chicago, because the Bears have been looking at him play, because he's right inside the city. So it's been easy for the Bears to scout him. The other kid that they were looking at is Paris Johnson Jr., this tackle out of Ohio State. So either way, I think that's probably the best way to go with the Bears going forward. I mean, Dave, to be honest with you, this Thursday, the draft is like my Christmas for me, because this is like one of my favorite things with sports. For the NFL, I should say. Obviously, I love my NHL playoffs, but this is just a great weekend. So I'm really looking forward to what happens on Thursday. And then obviously, I'm really looking forward to see what happens on Friday, because I hope we don't have to mention that name much longer.
Oh, dude, we're going to talk about him a ton, because then he's going to be in a new
after Friday.
Yeah, he'll be in a new uniform, and then he'll be like maybe talking to a new set of reporters. By the way, Foreman said Houston does not pick offense. They're 100% going defense. Rob Dog, another Bears fan, checks in, says, hey, the last number 9 pick the Bears had was Leonard Floyd. And before him in 2009, the number 9 pick got Chicago a Hall of Famer in Brian Urlacher. So great luck for us at the number 9 pick. There you go.
Well, there's a chance that Leonard Floyd might re-sign with the Bears. He's still a free agent. And then I was in a bar in Iowa City watching that pick when Urlacher got drafted, and I loved that career ever since.
I'm sorry about that you were in Iowa City.
I was hanging with some good friends.
Okay.
I'm not allowed in those bars anymore anyways.
I can see why. Nobody else is either. All right, we're going to just step aside really quick. When we come back, we're going to update this morning's poll question for you. Rate your level of concern with the Bucs. 2-1 down now to the Heat. The game tonight, 6:30, we'll give you a bit of a betting preview. Then the XFL and the XFL postseason set. I know we've talked a lot of XFL this year, and for good reason. This thing was a massive success. So we'll get into where the playoffs are. Stay tuned. Back in about a minute.
Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate.
Hi, I'm Irene, and I care about you. That's why I started Care Packages by Irene, or CPBI. At CPBI, we have a wide range of care packages, from I care about you but don't get too clingy, to I'm completely obsessed with you and you should probably get a restraining order, and everything in between. Because it's CPBI, if you care, we care.
Visit us online at carepackagesbyirene.omg.
Sports Carnival broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio, powered by the Recovery Room. Back here with you. Hope you're having a great start to your morning. Mike Byers is up and at it this morning, and Mike says it was a good weekend with beer, wine, and cheese. The Beer, Wine, and Cheese Festival Saturday, then the La Crosse Distilling Company's bourbon release. That sounds awesome.
That just came out. We're going to look at procuring that. Yeah, it was a great weekend in town. Obviously, you had Between the Bluffs, TC graduated, so we have congratulations. We had a party there, so it's summer's almost a month away, it seems like, brother. Not with the snow outside, but it feels like it.
I don't know that I can feel anything close to summer. I am still fucking cold, but that's okay. I'll be heading to Florida in a couple of weeks for a little bit of that sun, the warm weather. So Matt's going to be behind the main studio microphone here, and I'll be doing it from a sunny deck, hopefully overlooking the beautiful, beautiful Gulf of Mexico. So that's what we're going to be doing, hopefully coming up here soon. But want to thank everybody for tuning in this morning. And by the way, Mike, great to see your name pop up, because if you ever do want to chime in, I had a lot of people ask me this over the weekend. How do we get to chime in? Can we call? No, we don't have the phone call apparatus here. I guess I could technically do that, but I'm not going to get into that at this particular moment. But you can check in with us, YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitch. Those are the best ways to get in touch, or just come see us. Most of the week, we're going to be downstairs, Matt and myself, at the Recovery Room, at least for some lunch, and who knows, on the weekend, Matt, maybe breakfast.
Well, I wanted to throw this out there to Mike, since you're chiming in. You're hopefully still listening today, brother. We are not opening till about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock today. We have some things to do, but Dave will be rocking the mic for bingo tonight, and I know that those Viturbos ladies were looking for you this last couple of weeks for Viterbo.
That's right. Savannah and her friends are going to be there. I know it because Savannah celebrated her 24th birthday with us at bingo. So we definitely want to see her there. And Mike, by the way, that group of girls was looking for you a number of weeks back because you were such a heck of a nice guy and bought everybody a round of drinks. Foreman did want to know if we had bingo coming up tonight. Yes, of course, Foreman, we do have bingo. And if you have not been to our bingo before, you're kind of missing out, because we've got great prizes. We start about 7 o'clock, go till about 9-ish. And we're building up towards an end of the month giveaway, a big cash giveaway, which actually, is this going to be our last?
It would be next week, actually.
Okay, next week will be our last Monday. I couldn't remember if this was a 31.
Yeah, it's 24th today, so we'll do it next week.
Sweet. All right, so next week, then we'll have the big cash giveaway. But what we're doing now on all of our blackout cards, 25% of the money that we collect through the night is going to the blackout card winner. The rest of it, again, goes into that rolling over pot. So get yourself down. Bingo starts at about 7, goes until about 9 o'clock. And again, great food, great drink specials. I have no idea what the boys are going to be cooking up today, but they've been pre-planning specials for a while. So our kitchen staff's been hard at work putting together some really tasty stuff. So come and see us. But Mike, if you were thinking about lunch, not today. We just won't be there. Now, the Bucks, speaking of not being there, Matt, they did not show up on Saturday. They just didn't show up. And I didn't think that it was just the three-point shooting. I didn't like their energy. I didn't like their hustle. I didn't like their intensity. I have a feeling that the Bucks may have thought they were a little bit more comfortably ahead of not only the team that they're facing here, the Heat, but the entire league, and let their foot off the gas a little. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing is, I've never liked Miami as an opponent for Milwaukee because a couple of years ago, it was Miami that thoroughly frustrated Giannis in the bubble, and essentially the Bucks quit. Okay, I know there was unrest in Racine and George Hill and the players led a protest, and that's fine. But it felt like the Bucks got stymied, got a little too frustrated, and kind of just gave up in that series, right? And I didn't blame them because in the bubble, dude, I would have been out. I would have done anything I could have to lose right away. Seriously, I would have done anything I could to get the fuck out of that place. You're not taking me away from my family and my kids during this thing for extended amounts of time, and I'm sitting around getting sprayed down at a Disney resort and all this other nonsense that we went through during the great cold crisis of 2020. This thing, though, in this season, still feels like one of those times in which the Bucks can get frustrated. So I don't know if it's just that they have overvalued how good they are, undervalued how good the Heat could be, or if this Heat team is just one of those types of teams that once you put them in the playoffs, they're just like a really tough out. Think about it. Eastern Conference Championship last year, NBA Finals a couple of years before, right? Year before that, 2 years before that. This is a pretty plucky team. And Jimmy Butler, once he gets rolling, scary.
Oh, yeah.
And now he's gotten rolling big time. But now he is a little hurt, perhaps, but he's gotten rolling. You see Milwaukee right now, they're 6-point favorites here, Matt. They're
I saw that.
6-point favorites.
That surprises me.
I don't like that number.
Yep.
I don't like that number for the Bucks. I'm not saying that they can't win this game. They should. But I don't like this number right here. I know that the Bucks, 158 games. If Giannis plays, we should presumptively have the team that is going to be, the best in the league out there on the floor. But there's just something about this series now, especially with Giannis's injury, that I don't get a good feeling about.
Well, that's where I guess we're without in the poll too. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But I guess when you have a Jimmy Butler on the team who's a baller, he's going to be scrappy. He can play both ends of the court. And then I know I threw out Kevin Love last week. And what I meant by that too is even if he's there, just the experience and the playoff experience that not only Jimmy Butler has, Kevin Love has champion experience. That's leading the team. And
Kyle Lowry is a champion with the Raptors, right? There's a lot of guys.
I'm waiting for the Bucks to come out and have that champ. Where's that edge that the Heat are having right now? And that's what I'm confused about this whole playoff, right? Or this whole situation right now.
Well, the reason that I never liked the Heat as a matchup is because the Heat are a tougher team than most every other team in the league. Like that's the way they play. Pat Riley. I mean, look at some of the guys that they have in their front office. Pat Riley and Alonzo Mourning are sitting together as two of the main front office guys for the Heat. Pat Riley's still the president. Eric Spoelstra's been to 5 NBA championships and won 2 of them, right? Like this guy can coach. And the team, I know they didn't perform to their expectations this year. Really choppy season. A lot of injuries. Lowry was out. You mentioned Oladipo maybe being done. And now Tyler Hero's out. There's no excuse for Milwaukee in this situation. At the same time, the Heat just play so tough that they always give me a pause. Not that Milwaukee shouldn't be able to beat them because we saw what they did. I think it was last year or maybe the year before when the Bucks swept Miami. But this is one of those teams that you don't want to give any life to, because if they feel like you're down, they're like one of those Rottweiler dogs, right? They're going to lock onto your neck and not let go. The concern level. All right, let's get to that poll question, because the concern level that I'm seeing here on Twitter, 65% slightly concerned, 25% extremely concerned, which is the camp that I'm in, and 10% not concerned at all. You mentioned earlier, Facebook, our group page, had a majority of respondents in that slightly concerned. What are the percentage breakdowns for each of them?
Yep, we're still falling in line with everything that you mentioned on Twitter. Slightly concerned at 56%, extremely concerned at 28%, and then the 12% not concerned at all. I guess where I'm going to go with this, Dave, because you and I mentioned this last week with the Heat being just a really scrappy team. They have 5 to 7 kids on the bench or on the team that were even undrafted.
Yeah.
So they're they want it. You know, I mean, a lot of I think there's a mindset in there that's what goes why they're scrappy, they're gritty, and they want to get after it. So it's fun to watch. When I brought up the 3-pointing shooting for the Heat being so bad as they were during the regular season, they seem to turn on. Then Bucks, what was it, game 2 had 75 points on threes. They couldn't hit anything on Saturday's game where the Heat did. So we'll see how the shooting comes out tonight, my friend.
Well, it's going to largely have to do, in my opinion, with Giannis. And if he's healthy, what he does to space the floor is so incredible. And that's why the Bucks 3-point shooting, when he's there, is a lot better because he draws all that defense to him. And his passing ability is incredible, so he can kick it out to the outside jump shooter. Listen, I'm going to do a quick update here just because when I came in this morning, we did not have any certainty that Giannis was going to be playing. And I don't know that we'll get any certainty, but let me check on. He's still listed as doubtful as of right now. As of right now, he is listed as doubtful. And Wes Matthews is out. Not that that's either here nor there. But without Giannis tonight, this could be an issue. I don't think the Bucks are in a place where they should be panicking. Of course, they're down 2-1, so you have to win tonight or else you're in a real bad spot. But if I'm Milwaukee, I'm coming out with my hair on fire tonight. Like, and if I'm Mike Budenholzer, I'm telling these guys, you know what? You don't play like this is your last game of the season. This might be the second to last game of the season. 6-point favorites again for Milwaukee total on this thing. Sits at 217.5. I'd probably hedge to the over on this one. I think it'll be slightly higher scoring than that.
Really? I was feeling the under.
Yeah, that's
tough.
217 is still a pretty low combined number. You figure if it was 110 to 108,
right,
then it's already over.
Well, I guess it depends if Giannis is playing defense or not, if he's on the court.
I don't know. I mean, shit, the Heat put up 121 points, and then in the first game, they smoked him as well.
Yep.
6:30 tonight, TNT. If you want to come and hang out, watch the Bucks game, play some bingo, we'll have both for you. Recovery room. Joey Miller was asking. He must just be checking in because, Joey, we just talked about that. Is there bingo tonight? Yes, buddy. Yes,
And
there is.
Brewers are on tonight as well, too.
Yeah, the Brewers are on tonight, too. Listen, we're not going to spend a lot of time on the Brewers right now, but the Brewers lost 12-5 to the Red Sox. The Brewers are still doing great. They're, playing as well as anybody could have expected them to, I would say, at this particular point in the season, right? I didn't think the Brewers were going to be able to put together a record of 15-7 right now. But I will tell you, there are a couple of teams, Matt, that are impressing me a lot more than the Brewers. I know, don't kill me because we're in Wisconsin. Those teams include Professor Brian and his Pittsburgh Pirates.
Oh, yeah.
I shouldn't say he's impressing me. They're impressing me. Professor Brian's Pittsburgh Pirates really impressing me.
And then Central.
Absolutely. The Baltimore Orioles, better than they've been in years at 14-7, but we cannot sleep on the best team in baseball, the Tampa Bay Rays. They are now 13-0 at home, which is now tied the longest streak to open a season at home, undefeated since 1900. They're 6-3 on the road. They're plus 88 in the run differential. They are crushing everybody. And I'm not just saying by the score, but they are crushing the balls. They're leading off damn near every single game with the home run. Their pitching has been fantastic. 19-3 for the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, at this point, with this record, it's almost going to be hard for them to not make the playoffs, like regardless of what happens.
It's pretty crazy when you're winning 87% of your games.
Holy shit. And it's baseball.
And it's baseball.
It's baseball.
Think about that.
It's wild. And that's what I mean. As impressive as the Brewers have been this year for me, watching Pittsburgh go back to something that they haven't been since maybe Barry Bonds played with that team, right? I don't know the last time Pittsburgh was that good. They had a couple of seasons when McCutchen was an MVP, right?
Yep.
So they did have a couple of seasons in which they popped again. So I shouldn't say that. But it has not been sustained. So I like seeing where they're at. That's surprising. And then Tampa Bay, probably because Bob Ibeck is a good friend of the program, and we used to have Bob on all the time. His son, Kevin, works for that team. We've got some affection for him. Your brother is still working for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. So we've got some Tampa love. But this Rays team has just been a lot of fun to watch. Now, we don't get to see them as much as we'd probably like because, again, Major League Baseball's stupid regionality when it comes to showing games really kind of keeps us away from those guys. Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout and the Angels who,
well, I'm going to be bringing him up, so I got a little nugget for you.
Go ahead,
too.
Bring him up. We're mentioning his name.
Well, this is what I was going to get back into with the Brewers because obviously they got they had a rough 8th inning yesterday. Overall, they had a pretty good weekend overall with the Red Sox, but unfortunately, it looks like their center fielder Garrett Mitchell might be done for the entire season. So that'll be bad news for the Rook that just came up. The Brewers don't have a game off until Thursday, which is great. They play the Tigers, so you have some baseball to watch. But guess who comes to town on Friday, my friend?
The Cubs?
Nope.
Who?
The Angels.
Oh,
Shohei
sweet.
Ohtani.
Is
So
he going to be pitching?
I was trying to look up who was starting. I wasn't able to get into that, so I was trying to find that. I just have too many windows up on my screen. So yeah, but the Angels are coming to town on Friday, so you'll have at least he'll be in the batter's box, and then I don't know if you can find it right there. That'd be great to know.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they've got him pitching here.
Might be too far away too. So yeah, but
No, they've got so Wade Miley's scheduled to start game 1, Corbin Burns scheduled to start game 2, Ray's scheduled to start game 3. They've got the starters basically scheduled through May 3rd.
okay.
So they've got that even into the Colorado series. Now that can change, but I doubt that. Yeah, the Angels have Anderson, Detmers, and Suarez going. But you're right. At least he'll be in the batter's box, and that'll be fun to see. The Angels again, middling, sitting right there at 11-11 on the season, but have two of the greatest baseball players of all time. Very hard to fathom, but that really shows you exactly how difficult it is to win in Major League Baseball, right? Like that shows you how difficult it is. Because if that was the NBA and you had the two best players of all time, perhaps on the same team, like if you had Wilt and Michael on the same team, I'm feeling like 73 wins probably in jeopardy.
Yeah,
they might have
sure.
They might have gone 78-4, right? Like they might have never really lost. But when you're in baseball, it's just there's so many moving parts in the pitching, the fielding, and the managing, and both teams. It's an individual team sport in a lot of ways, right? And it just shows you how hard it is to win. That's why when I see Tampa Bay,
That's why they're so phenomenal. Yeah,
dude, it really is an incredible story. If that was the Yankees right now going 19-3, that would be the only thing you heard about on sports right now.
I wouldn't be listening to. Right,
you'd have to turn off all your TVs.
Yes, yeah, for sure. You'd have to listen to like radio and watch the TV screen.
Not even that. Even the radio, you'd have everybody blasting out. Like if it was the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, right? You'd hear the Cubs. Yep. I mean, we're talking about these, historical teams. It would be blaring from every speaker, every television set in the entire country. But because it's Tampa Bay, it gets a mention, but maybe not as much as it should.
I'm looking for sorry, real quick. I'm looking to Cubs. They did get Rockstrom and didn't have a good day yesterday, but I'm looking forward to it because the San Diego Padres are coming to town, so I can't wait
that
to
should
see
be
the new
fun.
lineup with the Padres, because with the amount of talent and the money that they have in that roster, brother, the Padres should be scary for sure.
Well, and the Padres, they're starting to, I guess, get it together. What are they, 12-12 on the
Tatis
season?
just came back from his PED suspension, so he's back in the lineup as well.
And your Cubbies are performing decently, 12-9 so far in the season. Hey, let's take a really quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap up shop. We'll look at the XFL postseason schedule. And Matt, you and I have been pretty much on board with this XFL all season.
I love it, dude.
At the end of this year, I want to give my grade. I want to hear what yours is too. We'll look at the poll question again and see if there's been any updates. Stick around.
This is Tailgating Tales with Bert Kowalski. Episode 22. There'll be no toilet wine before it's time.
It was late September of 92. The Bengals are in town and managed to take out Packers starting QB, the Magic Man, Dan Majkowski. Enter stage left, and then fresh-faced Brett Favre, who engineers a beautiful fourth-quarter comeback to beat Cincy 24-23. They began a 15-year bromance with the state of Wisconsin and cheeseheads worldwide. Meanwhile, I'm in the Lambeau Field parking lot, where I've enjoyed every home game since I was knee-high to a Milwaukee's best tall boy. This is where the tale takes a twist. Majkowski's out, the pack is in jeopardy, and I'm out of beer. Lucky for me, Lou Three Fingers Nelson, who did a stretch in Joliet, always had a fresh batch of toilet wine brewing in his mini-winnie. I was 6 cups in and barely coherent when Favre threw that TD to Kendrick Taylor for the win. God bless Favre, and God bless Three Fingers Toilet Wine.
And Favre put it right on the line. A perfect pass, a perfect catch by Kendrick Taylor.
Sports Carnival broadcasting live, Trauma Center Studio, powered by the Recovery Room, wants to invite you out once again. If you're just tuning in, Joey Miller was to bingo tonight at the Recov. 7 o'clock, we'll be starting. We'll go to about 9-ish. We've got great new prizes. We've got some shirts. We've got a couple of things left over, I think, from our 420 celebration. I squirreled away some stuff, Matt, that you picked up from Stack's Family Farm. So
always a good idea.
Yep, we've got a few things there. Don't forget the NFL draft coming up on Thursday. May see us participate in a drinking game. Every time stupid Aaron Rodgers' name is mentioned, we'll all take a shot. That'd be kind of fun. I wonder if there's a bye-bye birdie shot. We could be like, ooh, bye-bye birdie. Oh, it's called Rumplemans. That's right. And then, of course, Cinco de Mayo is going to be coming up soon, right? So a couple of weeks out, Cinco de Mayo, Recub. We're all hoping that the patio is going to be like rocking. I mean, the patio's open. It looks great. It's just been too cold for anybody to really enjoy it.
Yeah,
But we're hoping by Cinco de Mayo we might see a change in that. So
trying to get some of these flowers and everything out there to bloom, make it feel a little bit more summertime instead of the snow that's basically killing all of those.
Dude, it's right now. What's crazy is I was reading a story in the newspaper from, well, it was online, but it was a Wisconsin paper, and it wasn't from around here necessarily, but it was, I don't know, Wisconsin Journal Sentinel, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. So anyhow, they were talking about like certain birds, like loons around Wisconsin, they're falling from the sky, dying because it's just too cold. Like this thing is just not right. It's sitting, it's just not the same as it used to be. And, when you got birds falling from the sky, I mean, there's just some, there's an imbalance in the force, Matthew. There is an imbalance in the force.
What's it where it happens? And it seems to be happening in Miami or South Florida all this time. And you'll be heading down that area pretty close, but it gets so cold. I like the lizards are falling from the trees because they're freezing and falling and landing on people. So yeah, it's pretty crazy world we live in right now, man.
That is. It's a mixed up world we live in these days. For Pete's sakes, put down Christopher Reeve's legs. You remember that? That was an Eminem song from back in the day. Good stuff. By the way, rest in peace, Christopher Reeves.
Yes, sir.
All right, XFL football.
Oh,
Matt,
boy.
you and I've been fans of this thing for the entire season, and I think that the entirety of the country, that's football fans anyways, professional football fans, has been at least somewhat interested in this year's XFL. And we can see that by the numbers. Now, again, the first week blew shit out of the water. A level of viewership that I never anticipated for a league like this, right? 46.5 million viewers, one of the highest Saturday primetime sports viewerships in history. Then things tapered off quite a bit. But as we have seen, the staying power of these leagues, or any league really, the MLS is a perfect example of this. The staying power of these leagues depends on people showing up in the stadiums to watch these games, to come out and be supporters and fans. This year's XFL, I think, in most situations, in most cases, in most cities, really did a great job packing the stadiums. But what we saw on Saturday from St. Louis, what you saw, even though DC was on the road, these were intense and packed houses for the most part. Now, Arlington, okay, and you see that they're going to be playing Houston. That wasn't a huge turnout, but they played a big stadium too. But the Alamo Dome, okay, was rocking. And I said the Alamo Dome might be a little too big for the XFL. Listen, they didn't fill the whole place, but they had that place rocking.
Yeah,
the lower bowls
bowl was full.
Yeah. And it was rocking. So I take that back. San Antonio, you've got yourself a pro football team. There is nothing, though, better for me to watch in the XFL than the St. Louis Battlehawks at home. And we talked about St. Louis losing the NFL and how they could really be possibly up for another type of franchise. St. Louis has been home to pro football franchises for, many, many years, right? Like their history goes back a long, long time. The St. Louis Cardinals and all those things before they moved to Arizona. So that's a definite pro town. I think they've embraced this XFL thing. And I will look at, AJ McCarron, the 53 points that the St. Louis Battlehawks put up in that route. I look at AJ McCarron and this, entire St. Louis team, the crowd behind them, and I say, wow. I mean, wow, that is just a really great story. And congratulations, because these guys, I mean, they're really doing, I think the XFL anyways, they're really doing great work. I mean, really, really great work. This has been an unbelievably good season. Unbelievably good. It's unfortunate that St. Louis, because of a couple of tiebreaker issues, didn't make the postseason.
Well, the worst part is that the three best teams are all in one division. So that's why that's basically the worst part with the XFL, to be honest with you. But I mean, I love it, Dave. I'm all in on this. I'm still kind of back out on the USFL. I just don't know how much I can get into it, but I'm all in on this XFL season. For the most part, they had some ups and downs. There's some issues, obviously, like fields and surfaces and plays, but they had some growing pains, I guess, to get through. This game this weekend between Seattle and DC is going to be the game of the year, in my opinion.
Oh, outside of maybe the championship, you know what, though,
Whoever
you're right. I think
that win it all.
I agree. I used to think that Houston, coached by Wade Phillips, was the best team in the league. Remember, we had a streak where we bet them every single week because they were covering the spread every single week. But I think you're right. DC, Seattle. And now listen, that game isn't going to be an easy one for DC to win. Now, it is in DC.
Right.
So that will give them an enormous advantage. But Seattle with Ben DiNucci
and Josh Gordon are fucking great.
Yeah. I mean, look, Ben DiNucci, AJ McCarron, two best quarterbacks by far in the XFL this year, right? But Jordan Tamau for DC
and Derek King,
they're playing some good football.
a two-headed snake at quarterback at DC. They're really good. Basically, the North Division has so much more NFL capable or already NFL talent. So that's why I also am going to stick with that. Now, the Vegas Vipers did have some talent. They just didn't have a very good coach in Rod Woodson. When you look at
I don't know if it was the coach. Their
dude, he was
sucked.
bad. No, they had more NFL talent on that roster than any other roster in the league, in my opinion. You could go through it up and down. When you look at the South, the Roughnecks, coached by I call him Little Bum. Wade Phillips, they were playing well. They don't really have that.
That's funny. Calling an 80-year-old little bum.
Well, yeah, did you see? He did. He got ran over.
Hello, sport.
He got ran over yesterday,
there,
and he got up and got a standing ovation.
No
like the players,
shit.
so you got up, and he's still there. I'm just saying that the Southern game is not going to be that great to watch, in my opinion. The Roughnecks should walk away with that. The Renegades don't really have a lot of NFL talent on their roster.
They lost yesterday and still get into the playoffs.
Yeah, and they have a losing record.
Yes,
that's why there's. But
now that team is coached by Bob Stoops.
Yep. And if that's where we can back the three best teams in the league were in the Northern Division. So it would have been great if the Battlehawks would have been playing on this weekend instead of the Roughnecks.
Well,
not the Roughnecks, the Renegades.
The Renegades. Like Houston's 7-3, but so were St. Louis and Seattle. They were all 7-3. DC's 9-1, best record in the league. I do think that's unfortunate that the three best teams, largely considered the three best teams are in that
my opinion,
same division. But Houston, I think at 7-3 still has to be considered. Wade Phillips is a legit NFL head coach / defensive coordinator. And because of that, I like where he's going. They did beat Arlington 25-9. DC outlasted San Antonio 29-28. That was a nail biter. I mentioned the 53 points that St. Louis put up, 53-28 over Orlando, crushing the over, which I told ESPN's John Papadopoulos last week, the XFL take the overs this upcoming weekend.
For sure.
There were two games that came in well under, though, and that was Vegas-Seattle. Seattle wins 28-9, and Houston beat Arlington 25-9. But the first slate of games on Saturday anyway, St. Louis, Orlando, DC, San Antonio, those went well over. And by the way, the St. Louis-Orlando game, highest combined score of any XFL game in the history of the XFL. Rob Dog did ask me this question. I put it up on the screen, but I want to get back to it concerning the USFL. And he's asking, so you're saying the USFL will be done for soon with 95% empty stadiums? Possibly. The USFL, though, is owned. This is different from the XFL. The USFL is owned by Fox and NBC, right? Like it's owned by a TV conglomeration. Okay. I think Fox is actually the primary owner, and then they put it on NBC also. Because of that, Rob Dog, they could have extra staying power because it's the TV companies that are actually hoisting this up. One of the biggest problems with anything, though, fans in stadiums, that's what I'm saying. The MLS, minor league baseball, they all operate the same way. You got to get butts in seats in order to make it work. But the secondary part is you have to have a television partner that wants to see this thing grow on a national level. That's why I don't know to say for sure about the USFL. I do think that it could be over sooner than later. I do, because the XFL comes right off the heels of the NFL, right? So as soon as we get done with the Super Bowl, it's perfect. And the XFL's already carved out that space. All right. Now that the USFL is coming on the heels of the XFL, I don't know that the XFL is going to give us such a hangover for football that we're desperate for football in such a way that we'll go right to the USFL, especially with the NFL draft, right? So now we've got the draft. Then we're going to have the start of mini camps. Then we're going to have preseason football. And then we're back into football full time, right? Like we're back to NFL football. So I don't know, Rob. I think, though, it could be a shorter run. It really could. If nobody's coming in, by the way, these games are only played in a couple of hub cities, right? Like 2 hub cities.
4. Yep.
Is it 4?
It's 4.
Okay. So they're 4 hub cities for however many 8 teams they've got right now. All right. So that's not an ideal situation. It's hard to get people, hometown people, excited about your team that you're not playing, in that hometown.
Right.
So there is a good chance that it could be over sooner than later. But if the TV companies want to pony this shit up, and if they're making the money on advertisement, it could have some legs.
Well, I guess my thoughts are on this. I think, it's like the New Jersey team has to play in Canton, Ohio. So I really don't know how you want to do that. With the XFL, you brought it up earlier, they had a great start to the season too, because they had FX and ESPN.
Yep.
So you already had that backup going forward. Also, the best thing that I think about the XFL is, like you said, you brought up the timeliness of this. Their season just ended for the most part, but they have the championship games this week. Then they have the playoff games,
the semifinals, and then the championship
games this week. What's happening right now is you have the NFL draft. So all of these kids that just got done playing for the XFL are getting looked at. They can scout. We brought up, it has nothing to do with XFL, but we brought up Cam Newton. He's trying to get back in this league. Guess who proved himself yesterday? If he wanted to go in the NFL, I'm guessing AJ McCarron might get a shot because of what he did in the XFL. The opportunities for XFL players are so much easier, in my opinion, than they are for the USFL players.
Yeah, well, I don't know about easier because I think now we've
just
got
because of the time, just because of the timingness of how the leagues
fair.
are set up.
Well, okay. So what if you're saying this? If an XFL player now essentially in his season is over, gets looked at as a priority free agent, right? Like because you're saying the draft is happening, and then just really quick back to AJ McCarron. I think that AJ McCarron is doing what he's doing right now on purpose because he could be in the NFL holding the clipboard. I mean, like that's for sure. But he wants his kid to see him play. Like, because he could get a backup job again in the NFL if he wanted to. He won't start, but he's good in the XFL, right? Like, he's really good. Like, if he wanted to be in the NFL, though, he could. PJ Walker's going to get, and he still does. He's a backup for the Bears.
Right.
He popped in the XFL.
I guess for me, for the 49ers, would you rather have, and I know because you're not really, but right now, would you rather have Sam Darnold or AJ McCarron?
Oh, God, Sam Darnold.
Oh, see,
all day, every day.
I'd take AJ McCarron.
No way. He's just played in the XFL for a reason.
No, but Sam Darnold hasn't really proven anything in the NFL either.
Well,
so
he's
proven he's gotten injured
again, and Sam Darnold is not necessarily. I mean, I guess right now he's going to be presumptively the starting quarterback, but that's by default,
right?
Like that's not my choice.
That was just my one go-to right off the bat when you're comparing apples.
I'd still probably rather take Sam Darnold. He's bigger, he's got a bigger arm. But McCarron looks great in the XFL. And look, the XFL needs these stars too.
For sure.
Right? Like, that's the kind of thing.
Well, the USFL needs stars.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Their names, I'm like, who? Pro Cup? And did this guy play in the CFL last time? Like, all right. Well, boys and girls, this has been a lot of fun. If you want to come out, watch that Bucks game tonight, 6:30 p.m. TNT. We've got bingo starting at 7. It's the Recovery Room, 7th in Mississippi. Thanks, of course, to Kyle Cable, One Trust Real Estate, the official real estate partner of the program. The Recov has mentioned the powering behind the Trauma Center Studios. Our friends over at BetUS, and coming on board soon, our friends over at Contractor Supply of West Salem. Thank you all very much. We will be back bright and early tomorrow morning. Matt Janis scheduled to be with us at 8:32. See you guys.
Peace.